Time now for Talkin' Tune, a weekly roundtable discussion on music, radio, entertainment, television, nothing too serious, just light and lively chatter with your host, Oscar Osbo.
Talking Tunes, and we're talking with John Russell and Rick Hickman about some of their wonderful interviews that they did back in the day when they did the Saturday morning juke.
Oh, Walt, here's Eater.
Okay. Yeah, Chicago.
Yeah, what a great... we sound like a broken record because, like I said, everybody we've done has been really good. I guess if they wouldn't have been, we wouldn't have wasted our time putting them on our hard drive, probably, now that I think about it. But, Walt is one of the originals of what they were formed in 1967, and he said, I forgot how many they had, but he says of that group that met in his basement, I mean, there's a phenomenal number of those guys that are still in the group Chicago to this day.
And right out of the box, you guys, as you take the group Chicago, you come out with a double album. I mean, I don't know if anybody, their first album is a double album. I mean, that took some thought, cojones or whatever it was to do that.
Well, it did take cojones because people were saying, what the heck are they doing?
Yeah.
The Beatles did the White Album, and who do they think they are? But we just had this wonderful music because we moved up to California from Chicago and lived in a house and just worked up all this music. We had enough music for about 3 double albums, which we did. But we just figured that to tell the story, not even conceptually, just to tell the story of what we had written, one record wouldn't have been enough. 2 discs were better to get the idea across of what we were doing. So, but there was flack about that. There really was, and that was a shame because it sort of hurt our feelings. We weren't trying to do a one-up anybody. It wasn't the battle of the bands. It was just our story that we wanted to tell musically.
What song off that album, Walt, as you look at it, is the first one that you hear on the radio? And just give us a feeling of what that must have been like. All of a sudden, here you are. Where were you? What were you doing when you heard that first Chicago song on the radio?
You know what? That first album, there was, the album was successful, but there was none of the singles, like, does anybody really know what time it is? On Question 67 and 68. None of those were single hits, but the album was a hit. Mm-hmm. We had to go into the second album and get The Ballet for a Girl in Buchanan, which Jimmy Pankow wrote, and get Make Me Smile. That's the one we heard on the radio after that record was released, and we went, wow, this is something else. I wonder if anything will come of this. We'll get work or whatever.
Children play in the park. They don't know I'm alone in the dark, even though time and time again I see your face smiling inside. I'm so happy that you love me. Life is lovely when you're near me. Tell me you will stay, make me smile.
this thing. After we had so much success with singles like 25 or 6 to 4, Make Me Smile, Color My World, we went back and re-released. Does anybody really know what time it is? With Question 67, 68, and the songs off the first album. But, I think we were so unique, people didn't know what to think of us. But at that time, the format was such that, you guys were all playing albums,
right.
Not album cuts, but whole albums.
Sure.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff. But to tell you the truth, it's a long way around the barn. Hearing that first song, Make Me Smile, was like, wow, I just want to get out of the car and strut.
Now, I'm guessing that you're about 22 years old at the time. And
that's about it.
Yeah, and did you get a sense that life is going to change and maybe I won't have to get that job at the supermarket? This just might work out.
Yeah, that job at the supermarket was a mere wisp of an idea way back when, and I'd hide in the back room of the delivery dock, smoke a cigarette, and hide and try to collect the paycheck. And then I realized that this wasn't for me, and I just started, as I said, at 13 in clubs. And professionally, you could do the math on that. I've been at it for 55 years professionally, but yeah, I got the idea that it was going to work, and boy, I tell you, it was like a big slingshot for all of us as we just got thrown into the fast lane. And man, it was fun, but it was scary.
Your music, you touched on it. It was, you think about what's happening in the late 60s as far as music, and there is a change over to FM radio and longer cuts, but there's also kind of that psychedelic fringe before we go into kind of the John Denver stuff. And you guys were just so unique coming out of the sound. I had a best buddy that was in jazz band in school, and all of a sudden, those guys, the nerds, so to speak, they became cool because of you guys.
There you are. You know what? All of a sudden, something that you wonder if it's hip or not. All of a sudden, somebody brings this out, and it could be the nerd, and all of a sudden it catches on, and all of a sudden the nerd is like Moses, the musical Moses coming off the hill.
What was the band like in terms of? I'm assuming that Terry Kath and Robert Lamb wrote a lot of the songs as far as the songs themselves. But what would be would they come back to you guys and say, hey, okay, what can we do in the brass section of this? Or and you guys put the arrangements together. Can you kind of give us an idea how that all worked?
Well, you know what? We sat around. The guys had come in, and in those days it wasn't a demo that was brought in. That was almost like a finished record. Somebody'd come, bang on the guitar or play on the piano or whatever and say, what do you think about this? And we'd flesh it out. And Jimmy Pankow was also in on that. He arranged all the horn stuff, but he also was one of the composers also. And we'd sit around and throw in our 2 cents until, it got to the point where the composer liked it. And the composer would usually say, well, it's not exactly the way I thought it was going to be, but it sounds pretty good. So we'd sit around for many of those double albums and just kick things around and say, the horns would go, well, what about this horn break here? Or let's put a horn ensemble in here. Or, why don't you guys at the rhythm section say, well, why don't we do a breakdown here? This would be sort of cool. And then have the horns come in here and, just flesh it out. And it was almost like a musical workshop. To do stuff like that, and we did it, and I think we probably had some fights over it, but not so much about the music, just fights like young guys would have and everything, but it sure did work.
As your music really starts to capture the imagination of the public, you're touring more, you're playing at larger venues, and that had to be a difference to your lifestyle as well.
It sure was. Life changed forever for us with that, and it was scary. But the one thing people said, how did you get through that period? Usually there's a guy that pops out that, okay, I'm going to go solo, and the rest of you guys, later, see you, wait in the car type of thing. And, that didn't happen to us. We sort of gathered ranks together and just didn't listen to outside influences and everything, and really stayed the way the Beatles did, sequestered or whatever, and just counted on each other. And, it was a good thing because it was, I hate to use the word family, but it really was a family and a brotherhood. And here we still have 4 out of 6 guys, that started the band together, working on coming up to this 47th year. So I must say, whatever happened, I think Terry Kath wrote it in a tune called Alma Mater, and he just said, we were just meant to be. After all the things that we'd said and done were the wrong things or disagreed, we were just meant to be.
is everything. Ooh, it's meant to be. When my dreams have closed to an end, I will understand what I left behind. Out of me, I've been searching so long to find an answer. Now I know my love has meaning. Whoa, whoa. Searching until no one for an answer. To the question, oh yeah, who am I? You can tell me, baby, it's true. It's only natural. Keeps telling me that this affair's not meant to be, even though I need you night and day. Walk away if you see me coming, even though it's you I'm loving.
You mentioned Terry, and of course, along comes 78, and you guys are tight and together, and certainly tragedy within the group. You lose a friend, you lose Terry. And also that very year, you also lose your manager. I mean, that is a seminal year, 78, where things could have just said, well, hey, we had a good run, let's just pack it in here. We've had a death of one of our good friends, our manager's gone. But you guys kind of, put the pedal to the metal and kept right on keeping on.
Well, I got to say, not to be glib here, but so you can lose managers, and survive that a lot easier than losing a childhood friend.
Right.
I knew Terry a long time, and the other guys knew him also. And we were just at our first work together even before this band, and that was a devastating thing. And we really thought maybe this is the way the band should end. We've had some good success, and maybe we shouldn't go on. But we had people like Doc Severinsen and different fans writing in saying, you've got to keep up with this music. You're cheating us if you don't. And after we came out of the funk of that terrible loss, we realized we wanted to keep going on, and we picked up, took two people to replace Terry and everything, and we went on and kept doing music. And the one thing I know, if it was me that it would have happened to, I would have wanted the band to go on, and I know Terry would have also. So we just picked ourselves up, dusted ourselves off after getting knocked down, and said, let's go for it.
Well, I know how personal it is, but how did you first learn of the news of Terry's death?
It's a terrible thing. The phone rang in my house, and I almost fell to my knees because I don't know. It just was a terrible ring, and I'm part gypsy, and I think there's an intuition to that and everything. And it was the call that he had passed away and everything, and that changed things forever. Of course, the dynamic of the band, of course, but it stunned us all. It put us into mourning and all that stuff. But they say whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what happened to us, and it was the first rehearsals or auditions we had for guys to come in to play. I think the first guy, he wasn't going to get the gig at all. He was just going to get a bunch of anger vibes thrown at him just because we were doing something like that, you know. But eventually we found somebody, and off we went. But those are the things that life is made of, and it was a life's lesson, and I think we're better for it. And I won't. That's not a platitude to dismiss Terry losing his life. We lost a very close and very talented friend. As Jimi Hendrix said to me, he said, Walt, he's a better guitar player than I am. And that's the first time that I met Hendrix. And And then after he tapped me on the shoulder, he says, "Walt, your horns are one set of lungs. I want to do an album with you." And unfortunately, he said he wanted to go out on tour with us, also take us on tour, which he did, and everything. But he passed away before the Horns had a chance to do that album with him. And boy, was that about!
Oh man. That would have been something. One final question about Terry, and I'll move on. And the only reason I ask this, Walt, is there's so many urban legends surrounding his death. Was it a deliberate suicide? Was it just kind of one of those foolish things or whatever? What was your take on it, or what did you ever find out, Walt, about that?
Well, I hate to perpetuate something or put something in the mix here. I just know that he was overworked by management and everything, and managers do that sometimes because they're not out there running around and exacting the pound of flesh,
right.
From and giving it to the road and all of that stuff. And I don't know, there's all kinds of stories about it. There was stories that he was murdered.
Yeah. Wow.
And all of that. And there was a book that was out that somebody gave to me. They said, "Well, you knew him." And I said, "Well, yes, I did," and everything. And I read the book, and there's a case for it. But, it's like anything else, guys. Unless I see it happen, I can't espouse to say that this is what it was or whatever, because there's so many different stories floating around. All I know is he was awful unhappy, and I would talk to him and say, "Why are you so unhappy?" He'd be on a plane flight. He says, "I got to spit up the same hits all the time." He says, "Just wait. You're going to have way more hits than us than me, and you're going to see what I mean." And I says, "Yeah, you're right. That and pigs fly." And he says, "Don't worry, you will." I said, "What would you rather do?" He says, "I'd rather take my old lady, my Strat, and play every Southside bar in the country or in the world, and so that I just get better. And I want to be happy doing it."
Yeah.
So, it was a shame we lost him, and we lost Janice, who gave us such a great break, taking us on tour also, So we had a couple of good ones really I said to him, "How can I ever thank you for this, Janice? How can I ever thank you for this, Jimmy?" And they said, "Pay it forward. If you see somebody needs a break, take them on the road." So we took a little-known guitar player from New Jersey on the road, and his name was Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, man.
That's amazing. And, you talk about Janice and Jimmy that way, and these are the behind-the-scenes stories that people don't know, because after such a period of time, they become almost caricatures of whatever they really were, and we don't really know those people as individuals.
Well, it's, they became our friends and benefactors in a way, and they encouraged us into doing things that, we were only a bar band, and they saw in us something we didn't see, and when they said pay it forward, that's what we did. And it was Seals and Croft. We did that to the Pointer Sisters, to different people. Even today, we had an opening act last night, that a kid that merited opening up for us in Moline, Illinois, and he did quite well, and that's a good thing. And we're not looking to get anything out of it. It's just a thing that every once in a while, we'll look up to the sky and point and go, "Okay, we paid it forward." Yeah. Don't want to see any lightning bolts coming our way. We're trying. We're trying.
Well, we're talking with Walt Parazator of Chicago. And Walt, with all that, kind of the death and the doom, and we'll move on here, but, you lose Jimmy and Janice to drugs, Terry, a gun situation. I got to think, as the mortality of, people your age and your friends are dying off here, and things are happening at that time particularly. I mean, did that kind of, was that a wake-up call to maybe even you or you guys are saying, "Hey, wait a minute here, we got to keep ourselves in check and keep doing the right things," or what was that like?
Absolutely. I mean, from the gun incident to, just getting too out there, doing some nasty things and all of that stuff and everything, and realized, hey, you got to tone it down. It's, we're not invincible. We don't walk on water. If we did, then we would have, but since we didn't, we figured we better not drown in some of the crazy stuff we were doing, and we got a little more serious about the music and start growing up some.
Your group actually changes, obviously, dynamics with Terry gone. Peter Cetera kind of steps in that void, and really, in a lot of ways, as Rick and I say, there were two Chicago groups from that point on, weren't there?
Yes, there was. There really was. That I think when Terry passed, that was the end of the original band. And it changed. how it would have been with him. We talk about a lot. We kick around a lot about it and all that stuff. But that's a very good observation. You being more objective and us being subjective, being in this creative entity called Chicago, you see it that way, and every once in a while we're reminded of that, and it's sheer conjecture when we talk about it, but it is a different band. The coolest thing about it is the guys that have come along the way, and I call the new guy who's been with us 27 years the new guy, and you think about it, the people that they say opposites attract, but likes attract, because all the people that have joined the band have really enjoyed playing music, working on music, and are not afraid of hard work, and they travel well with us and everything. And I'd like to say, when you do see us on the 3rd, that this is a band that's as good as anything that we've had together at any one point, and that's no offense to Terry or any of the other fellas, but with this presentation that I was talking about and the way the band plays, it's a mean fighting machine.
All right, we can't wait to.
A lot of fun.
Walt, you've long been known as a class act in the world of rock and roll. Congratulations on the longevity of the band. You really didn't know what you were starting that day, but you did something great for all of us. Congratulations also on the longevity of your marriage to Jacqueline, something that's also equally a rarity in the world of rock and roll.
Well, you know what? Thank you very much. I remember saying to Paul McCartney when Linda was alive, we were at a party, and I said, Paulie, unless you can gain 2 years on me, you'll never get ahead of us. We'll be married 2 more years. The love of a good woman can do you no wrong, and you know what? It'll even grow up us little boys.